So the first card we have is Explore Ungoro. It's an epic warrior card, and it is a spell, and it says replace your deck with copies of Discover a card. And the Discover a card is actually a 1-mana spell, okay? It's a 1-mana spell that discovers a card. And once again, Discover a card means that you can only find cards that are in your class. The tri-class cards, which are, you know, the Dawn Hancho, the Grime Street Informant, and those guys, and neutral cards, right? My first impression is that it's pretty bad in Constructed. Seeing that Renounced Darkness was bad. It's a little bit better than Renounced Darkness because you get to choose between 3 options. There are so many situations where Renounced Darkness would turn you into Paladin and then you get all secrets or something like that and it's useless. At least this one you get to choose the best one that it comes, that you know, the format is. I could see Warriors running maybe one of these in the control shells so that you can actually beat the control meta. But the fact remains that if you're changing cards that are really good, such as, you know, your Executes or your Legendaries or your Gorehouse or whatnot, that might be very awkward. It doesn't change cards in your hand, so that's good. But I don't think it's a constructed card, at least not at first glance. In Arena, this card is actually very good because Raven Idol is a good card in Arena, right? Like, you wouldn't mind playing all Raven Idols in Arena, and you get to choose exactly the cards you want. Like, the fact that Warriors have a bonus, so you're getting a Warrior card, and you're also getting Legendaries at a much higher rate is just a good card, right? Like, the chances of not Ragnaros is going to be rotating as standard, but the chance of you getting like a Grom is the same chances you get to get like a Fierce Monkey or something, right? Oh wait, Fierce Monkey's rotating out too. That's a bad example. Okay, the chances of you getting a Grom and the chances of you getting a Wisp is exactly the same. Whereas in draft, when you're drafting an Arena, you're gonna see more Wisps than Groms, right? So this is a good card in Arena, and I would pick it highly. Our second card is a Priest common. 4-mana 2/6 Tortolan Shellraiser, yeah, as taunt, and as Death Rattle, give a random friendly minion +1/+1. I actually think that this is a pretty nice card. It has Death Rattle, so it synergizes with the new quest. It synergizes with the Zoth, and then it also has taunt. So if you hide a minion behind a taunt creature that gives a buff, generally it's stronger, right? Whereas something like Dark Cultist before didn't even see a lot of play, even though it's an insane card, because it doesn't have taunt, right? They just kill it last, and then the effect doesn't go on. On top of that, it's already a 4-mana 2/6. And 6 health taunt creatures are relevant, right? There was the Warrior card that had 4-mana 2/6 that saw some play, but in Priest, it's a little bit better because you can heal your guy, the +1/+1 actually matters, and yeah, I mean, this is insane in Arena. This is like auto pick. It's like Cabal Talon Priest levels of OP, I think. Well, not exactly, but it's very close. In Constructed, well, if we're going to see a Death Rattle Priest deck, then this is definitely going to make it, right? So, there you go. Warlock Legendary Quest is called Lakari Sacrifice. It's 1 mana, of course. All quests are 1 mana. And you actually get a Nether Portal when you discard 6 cards. The Nether Portal reads 5 mana spell. You get a portal that's uninteractable. And at the end of every of your turns, you get 2 3/2 imps. So you get basically 2 flame imps for free. And they spawn at each side. And then at the end of that, you get 3 2s again, and so on, right? So this is much better than the Priest quest because you can actually play this on turn 5. If you discard a card every single turn, you can actually get very close to this. I guess you don't have that many cards to discard, right? And Darkshire Librarian is not rotating out of standard. And Malchezaar's Imp, more noticeably, is not rotating as standard. So you can actually play this because of Malchezaar's Imp, because it just gives you, you know, card draw and card draw and card draw. And yeah. The Nether Portal, how good is unlimited 3/2s, right? Well, it's pretty good, right? It's definitely pretty good. The later you play this, the worse it gets. And the fact that you start with 1 less card if you're playing like a discard zoo, is definitely a problem. Like, discard zoos are usually very aggressive. Having the quest in your opening hand means that you do start with 1 less quest, right? 1 less card. Or if you want to think about it a different way, you have to start with this 6 mana Nether Portal because it costs 1 mana to play at this turn 1, and it costs 5 mana to play. So you're starting with a 6 cost spell card, which is a little bit more OP than normal spell cards, right? So I don't know. It's really hard to evaluate these quest cards, especially not knowing the whole set. So I'm gonna go with okay for now. It's interesting to know that this portal does not get killed. So you can't silence it with Master Spell. You can't, deadly shot it. It doesn't count. If you played the Tavern Brawl for Nether Spite, you know that the portal is actually uninteractable, right? So it just stays there. It does cost a minion slot though. So when you have this, you don't have you can't play 7 minions anymore. You can only play 6. You can't faceless it or anything. You just can't touch it, okay? Next card we have is the Lakari Fellhound. 4 mana, 3/8 taunt. Huge stats for Warlock, and the battle cry discard 2 random cards. So it's kind of like a Doomguard for 4. So instead of a 5 mana, 5/7 charge, you get a 4 mana, 3/8 taunt. And the taunt is relevant because if you're going to play the Lakari Sacrifice deck, like the card that we just mentioned, you need some extra time, right? So the taunt actually helps. And taunt, people think that it's a very defensive keyword. It's actually pretty offensive as well, right? So since you, if you have a Lakari Fellhound, right? 4 mana, 3/8 taunt, and you have like a Flame Imp and a Darkshire Councilman or something like that, this guy actually protects your harder hitting creatures. So taunt is actually very aggressive in the right deck. So yeah, I'm guessing the discard deck is gonna play this. Might not be too it's like your third Doomguard. I guess Doomguard is still better, right? Charge is better keyword than taunt in general. So yeah, you might be wanting to play a third or fourth Doomguard, and this is fine. Honestly, this is fine and really good if you're playing Malkazar's Imp, because if you have a Malkazar's Imp, this is actually just a straight up 4 mana 3/8. Who cares if you discard 2 cards and draw 2 cards? It's actually no downside, right? And if the cards you discard are Silverware Golems, dude, that's even more crazy. Dude, Silverware Golems are gonna be even more insane. So no, sometimes the discard is even an upside. So discard lock is definitely gonna be a thing, right? Next card we have is Arcanologist, I guess. It's a 2 mana 2/3 common spell, a common minion for mage, and it draws a secret from your deck. That's really good, right? That is insanely good, right? Draw a card usually costs 1 mana. We have Novice Engineer. It's a 2 mana 1/1. It should be a 1 mana 1/1, right? But it adds 1 mana because of the draw card, right? This card is insane because you're not even paying any mana to draw a card. And I'm gonna argue that this card is even better than 2 mana 2/3 draw a random card from your deck, because you draw a specific card. When you draw specific cards, that's even better. I mean, look at Captain's Pair, right? Captain's Pair was always, back then, a 2 mana 1/1, draw a pirate from your deck. It was better than Novice Engineer because it draws a specific type of card. So Novice Engineer was a 2 mana 1/2, like way back then, right? Because drawing specific cards is considered OP. And this doesn't even have a stat deficit for having this strong effect. So I think this is one of the better cards. You do have to draw a secret, and there are no more mad scientists or any secret shenanigans, but these valet is still in the meta, so there might be a secret mage going on. There's still the 6 mana 5/5 crystal runner that might be a thing, but as itself, I think this is really strong already. This card is strong. Speaking of crazy legendaries, ELISE the Trailblazer is the new legendary that was spoiled. It's a 5 mana 5/5, and there's a battle cry, right? You shuffle a sealed Ungoro pack into your deck, and from what we know, it is a 2 mana spell card that rips open an Ungoro pack, and you add all 5 of those cards into your hand. Okay, so that's really good. That's like a Kabbalist Tome. It's a 2 mana Kabbalist Tome for 5 cards. Do note that it is 5 Ungoro cards only. So since we do not see the full Ungoro list yet, we don't know what cards it's gonna be in there. Very notably though, it could get quest cards, and I'm pretty sure at that point in time, the earliest you can cast this is turn 6, right? You play this and then you draw it immediately, right? You don't want to play the quest. Although it'll be very funny if you open 5 quests, you play all 5 quests at the same time, and then you continue with your Death Rattle minions, and then all 5 quests pop up for some reason. That would be pretty funny. But it's really hard to evaluate this. Although I think this is one of the better cards. I mean, it's a 5 mana 5/5, which is insane already, right? That's a good stat line, and you get a 2 mana draw 5. Like that's just good. I don't really care if it's 2 mana draw 5 Wisp. That's good. That's a good card. So I think this is really good. In like a mid-range or control variant. So next card we have is the Galaga Crawler. It's a neutral 2 mana 2/3 beast. Battle cry: destroy a pirate and gain +1/+1. Thanks Blizzard for printing a pirate counter card that nobody's ever gonna use. I'm gonna explain why this card is bad. Because if you're not playing a pirate deck, you're playing a River Crocodilus. River Crocodilus is bad. You never want to play 2 mana 2/3 minions or 2 mana 3/2 minions with no keywords. Okay, that's not what Constructed is about. Constructed is about playing the most busted cards offered to you, and those River Crocodilus and Raptors are not. Okay, and say you are playing this against a Pirate Warrior. Okay, for one, you might not draw it, and two, it does not even match up. Right, you have to keep it in your opening hand, and sometimes they don't even have pirates. And sometimes you don't even find this card. You find it late game, well, they're hitting you with an Arcanine Reaper already, right? The fact that it's a beast doesn't really matter. So I think this is just going to be unplayable. You do not want to play this card. It's an arena card. If in arena you need a 2 mana 2/3, then you can pick this. But otherwise, it's unplayable. All right, Tar Creeper is an interesting card. A 3 mana 1/5 taunt has +2 attack during your opponent's turn. It's also an elemental. I actually created one of these cards before during my what can Blizzard do to make Constructed control better. I actually predicted this. I made a 3 mana 0/6 Druid card that has +2 attack during your opponent's turn with taunts. So it was very similar. But with this card, it's a 3 mana 1/5 taunt neutral card, so you can put it in any deck. It's pretty weak in an aggro shell. Like taunts are good in aggro, right? You can protect your minions and whatnot, but you do not want to be smashing your opponents for 1 attack. So this is pretty much like a control card. I don't think you even want to play this in mid-range. I mean, you can just play a 3 mana 3/4. So is this good in control? Well, it's reasonable if you can like buff this somehow, like if you can abuse this effect somehow. So say you have some very valuable minions that you don't want to kill, such as, well, it's really hard to tell, like Flamewaker. I know Flamewaker's rotating on a standard, but say if you have like valuable minions you don't want to protect very early on, then Tar Creeper would be good. So yeah, I mean, I think it's just a strict control card. 3 mana 5 health is not something out of the ordinary. We already have 3 mana 2/5s. Yeah, there's a lot of 3 mana 2/5s, so it's not crazy, but at least it protects your face. So it's another control tool you might consider. I think it's alright. Dino size, however, I think it's probably one of my favorite cards to Berfield. It's the most interesting, at least. It's an 8 mana Paladin card, and then you make a minion 10/10, right? It doesn't matter what it is, you make it a 10/10. And why this is interesting is because it might actually bring like mid-range Paladin back. Say this card is in your deck, right? And you are playing like mid-range versus mid-range, or whatever. You're playing mid-range against control, it doesn't matter. Every minion you leave alive becomes very scary, okay? Say you put a Divine Shield Argent Squire on the board, or you have like something that, I don't know, whenever you attack, gain the same amount of health, Wicker Flame, Burn Bristle, or whatnot, and your opponent doesn't remove it, you can threaten to make it a 10/10 anytime, and that's pretty cool. And also, it's not a deck card. I like that it's not a deck card, right? You can, at turn 10, just Hero Power, cast this on your little dude, and then make it a 10 mana 10/10. Like 10 mana 10/10 is sometimes playable. Like sometimes you gotta do it. That's the worst case situation. And I think the best case situation, put it on Divine Shield, put it on the Wind Fury. Like get really good. So I think this might be very cool. We have 2 legendaries to reveal. The first one is the Rogue legendary, Sheridan Court Flower. 4 mana 5/3. When it dies, it turns into a seed. And if you get to play 4 cards in the same turn, you get to revive this minion. The minion does not get charged, so you basically summon a 4 mana 5/3 again. How good is that? My first impression is that it's not that good. I think it's pretty bad already enough to play a 4 mana 5/3 with no text. Right? It's basically it's no text, right? Just think 4 mana 5/3 Yeti, right? And then you get to revive it in a later turn, for example. That's not good. That's like not Hearthstone is what it's about. Like dying to a 3/2 seems pretty bad for a 4-drop, right? And you have to pretty much play a little bit more control rogue to play this. It's not really a miracle kind of card, because miracle rogues just want to kill you, and if they run out of steam, then so be it. So I'm not too impressed by this card. I don't think it's going to be too strong, although they might be printing more cheap rogue cards. Rogue is always in this weird spot where you don't really know what the identity of rogue is, and this card doesn't really solidify the identity of a rogue. So I think I'm gonna pass on this legendary. The Hunter legendary is a little bit more interesting, I guess. 7 mana 9/9. That's insane, right? 7 mana 9/9 beast. You assume that there's some negative thing because it's overstated. Well, the negative thing is actually after your opponent plays a minion, this gets to charge it. So instead of charging the face, it gets to charge every minion your opponent plays. And that is pretty spooky. That is actually pretty spooky. Alright? Say you play this on this turn 7 on an empty board, and your opponent is playing J Golems or something, right? Super proactive. Very hard to deal with a 7 mana 9/9 outside of actual removal. And nobody plays weird cards in Constructed. Like, nobody's gonna play your Pit Snake, or nobody's gonna play your Emperor Cobra. Sylvanas is rotating as standard. Divine Shields is not prevalent anywhere. So yeah, I see this card being like really good if your opponent doesn't have removal. This leads me to believe that maybe Control Hunter might be a thing, but then if you're playing Control Hunter, maybe you want to be playing other classes as well. It is a legendary beast, so you could get it from random effects, I guess. I know this card is going to be insane in Arena, right? In Arena, it's just going to be and then you basically just win the game if they don't kill it. So very good for Arena, but in Constructed, meh. Hunters like to go face, right? The hero part makes you want to go face. So if you want to play a Control Hunter that's lacking a hero power, then maybe that's good. We'll have to see the other cards if it supports it. All right, well, those are the cards. We're gonna see more cards revealed over the week, and I'm gonna be making a new first impressions video every now and then. And then after the whole set is revealed, we're gonna do a constructed compendium. We're gonna rate all the cards from 0 stars to 5 stars, and then let you guys know which are the best legendaries to look out for and what decks might be really good in Ungoro. So until then, we'll see you then.